Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Civil Gore Podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we have our 263rd episode.
Yes.
Hopefully that's right, because I've been messing him up and messing poor Tim up when he goes to file and read it. But I think we have a good movie for tonight. It's one of our. You could say it's a becoming franchise, because I think there's going to be a third one. But we're talking about The Barn Part 2, of course. And if this is like OG Civil Gore, when the first Barn was released, when we on one of our first dismemberments, when we found out, and that was when we had the dismemberments within the show.
Yeah.
And Tim and I were automatically hooked by two words: Candycorn Scarecrow.
Yes.
Or that could be three, depending how you put Candycorn. But I think they spell it as Candycorn as one word.
So this one is, it was one of those that I had seen and I knew I loved it, but I had to go back and rewatch the first one, because when I saw the sequel, I was like, I don't remember enough about it. Not that that's not a knock against the movie. It's just it was been so long ago that I had seen it, but I knew I'd really, really liked it the first time around, and I think I liked it more the second time when I watched the original The Barn.
Yeah, it's really good. And you know, if you want to watch these, of course, they're both available now on Screambox. I bought the Blu-ray. I have the Blu-rays on both of them, and I bought the Blu-ray for the first one. I bought that special version where it had literally like everyone in the cast sign it, like Linnea Quigley, Ari Lehman.
Oh, cool.
Like I think Lexi Drips. Basically the whole cast to the first one signed it. Second one, I since I had all those signatures mostly, I left it. And it was funny, the additions, I think, of the signatures for the new ones were autographs I have already just elsewhere, which was Joe, Bob, and Darcy. But I have them. They sign my action figures, which to me are much better than the Blu-ray itself to have signed. But yeah, so the if you are not familiar with any of the series, and we'll get into this more later, they're very, very 80s retro kind of feel to it, but with like pretty modern effects. Like I still like I said, we'll get into this, but the Candy, not the Candy Crush, oh my God, Pumpkin, what's his name? Hallowed Jack.
Hallowed Jack,
yeah, Hallowed Jack's effects still blow me away. I love how they have that, but we'll go into a little more.
If you guys had not heard our episode on the first one, it was episode 118, all the way back in October of 2019 is when that episode came out. So, yeah.
And we did a watch along. Remember I included that on. Didn't I put that on that one day when I did during the COVID years when Halloween got canceled? Remember? I think that was one of the movies I picked to watch along, because it happened to be on one of the streaming services at the time. I think it might have been on Tubi at the time, but now they're both on Screambox. And Screambox, by the way, thank God Tim noticed this, because my subscription at $4.99 a month was about to renew, and they have a deal I think goes to the end of June. Or at least till like June 26th or something like that, where you can, what is it, like $27 for the whole year, which is great, because it might have even come less than that. Maybe it's like 25, 26. I don't, whatever it is. So I quickly just changed my subscription just in time the same day, and it went. So now it charged me the one price I have it for the rest of the year. And so Tim and I were saving on Brody. We're a pretty good team, because that was Screambox is different. Like it's kind of, it doesn't have the vast library yet that Shudder has, but it's on its way. It was a rocky start to it, and then it kind of stopped, and then I think Bloody Disgusting invigorated it, and that's how it came back. And they have some originals, they have some exclusives, so they're getting up there, and they, to where, they're to have Shudder and Screambox hand in hand, you pretty much most of your horror needs will be met, I will say. And then Tubi for free.
I signed up for Screambox because of their exclusives, because they had The Barn 2, obviously, and then they had the My Life with Chucky documentary. I think The Outsiders is only available on Screambox. So there's a lot of, there's a good chunk of movies that I couldn't see otherwise. And
Yeah, and Jeff Whitmire posted on his page because he wrote a song for that Outwaters movie, and they
Outwaters. That's right. Sorry, I said
that's
Outsiders. I said Outsiders.
I didn't. I auto corrected in my head then because I didn't even notice that you said it differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, he posted a whole thing about all the stuff that they're coming out with just in this month alone with some great stuff. I'm trying to find it, but yeah, they're definitely different than Shudder in a way. And the reason why I used to not use them either was because they were on the iPad, but they would only do it like portrait, and you'd have to watch. You couldn't watch it landscape mode. Now the new version you can. It like starts. You have to pick your movies like in portrait mode, but then once you watch the movie, you do the tip. You flip it over to the side, and then it's like watching on the iPad like every other streaming service. I always thought that was a weird thing for them to do in the beginning. But yeah, and Jeff Whitmire, of course, he wrote that great song for Outwaters, and they, and basically it's their 1 year anniversary of their new version of, the new version of or Second Coming, I guess, of Screambox. So yeah, so check it out if you want a great addition to Shudder. I think you need them both personally. And just tell your significant other there. It's for the podcast. And
for the podcast.
That's how Tim and I get away with
That's the reason for everything.
Extra. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll get right into our first chop. So, Brian, I didn't get to watch a lot this week, but I did watch.
You got more than me.
Yeah, I did watch one that I had been meaning to catch up on, which was Forever Purge, which was is that the fourth entry in the Purge franchise? I think it's the
last one, right? Oh,
yeah, it's the most current one, but
yeah, that's the one I still haven't seen yet either. So
yeah, I'm trying to look up. No, I'm sorry. There was the first Purge. I forgot about that one. It's the fifth entry. So I've seen all of them up until this point, and I'll have to say, I mean, a lot of people like this one. I think I'm getting a little burned out on the Purge series.
You're purged out.
I'm purged out.
You need to purge yourself of the Purge.
Yeah, the first one was good because it was a new concept. It was, this is a crazy concept. And the second one I really liked because it took it out on the streets. They weren't just all in the house. And then the third one, which was the election year, I liked because of the political thing. It started kind of losing me at the first Purge is when things started to trail off. And then this one is just like... It's a different take because it has to do with immigration. So there's a lot of political viewpoints on immigration, and a lot of this one revolves around the people doing the purging are a lot of like white supremacist types that are trying to kill all the immigrants, and you're kind of on the side of the Mexican lady that had come across the border. And so, I mean, that didn't bother me. I liked all of that new take on it. But I'm getting to the point where I feel like the Purge series has become so mainstream that it's lost a lot of it's almost sanitized now.
Well, plus the political stuff is like it's so out there every day. It's like you need to re-see it in a movie about how all this craziness.
The thing is, to me, like the first Purge was horrific because you didn't imagine what would people do in this situation. And by the time you get to this one, like everything in it just seems so tame. Like, you had people running around like shooting guns in the air, or maybe you see them beating up a guy in an alleyway or something. But I'm like, this doesn't come close to the real horrors that would take place if this was an actual thing.
Right.
And it just seemed like it just seemed like it was so sanitized.
Literally, I feel like sometimes we're there already almost with stuff. It's like...
I don't know. It just seems like the whole series has gotten so mainstream that it's lost all the horror for me. Like there's no sense of danger or anything around all of this. And even in this one, like I felt like a lot of the horror was taken away because you had a bad group of people that were focused on this exact group of people, and it just, I don't know, it lost something. Like the anarchy of the Purge was just not there for me, and I don't know. I didn't. It was entertaining, like all the Purge movies are, but I didn't care for this one very much. So I think I'm kind of done with the Purge series, unless they do something really drastic to amp it back up. It's sort of like a PG. To me, feels like a PG movie at this point. I don't know what they're doing, but
maybe they'll make a Purge and have the Candycorn Scarecrow.
that I would watch.
Yeah. Well, you watched one more than me. I really had no time for anything this week. I feel like it's just like between work and trying to do other stuff, and still going through like trying to once you've got stuff in storage, you're trying to clean stuff out, getting stuff prepped for when we make our eventual next move into more of a permanent location. But we have but it's funny, the one thing I did watch, I guess it was just because it was one of the days I had off after the holiday, and I was kind of like just laying, I was like so tired from just the weekend, so I laid around all day. I was watching on Pluto TV, they have the Three's Company channel.
No way.
And I literally just binge watched like Three's Company all day, and like that's one of my favorite shows of all time. And it was like, and the sequence that it was like the last 2 seasons basically they were playing that particular day, but you can watch all of it on demand on Pluto TV. But I was just watching as they came, and it was the whole one where Jack had his restaurant, which was one of my favorites. No, that's where they hung out. Remember,
that's right. That's where he hung out. That wasn't his restaurant.
Yeah, no, that wasn't his. But this was Jack's Bistro, and there was some of the most memorable episodes with that, where it was like he had where he had he had to dress up as the grandmother to get the cookie recipe like win.
Yes.
and when Mr. Furley had to help him in the kitchen one time and was messing everything up, and Larry decided to become a lounge singer. It was a lot of great stuff like in that last 2 seasons.
R.I.P. John Ritter, he was awesome.
Yeah, God, what a talent. Like, especially when you see him in that show, and you like realize like how perfect he was. Like, could you picture anyone else as Jack Tripper? It was like he was just the best. The Regal Beagle. So let's get into something that's been driving our poor good friend there, David McHugh, crazy. And he's been such a long-time listener. I feel like we finally need to explain it to him, these teasers were going on. And I'll let Tim bring that up, because he gave it to the last tease that I think put him over the edge.
Yeah, so we had decided on a summer slaycation theme. And so what we've been teasing is not a particular movie. We've been teasing the theme of the summer slaycation, and our theme for this year is kind of a VHS 80s throwback theme. And the picture I had in my mind when I came up with this is when I used to walk into the video store. This is even before Blockbuster. We had a place called Chips Video, which was our local video store. Walk in there, and I'd go straight to the horror section, and you'd see all these box covers. And there were some that were just so iconic that I remember seeing. And so we took 4 of these iconic VHS box covers to me. I think, Brian, you would agree.
Yes.
And ones that had franchises, obviously.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't like because it was. Oh my God! I mean, if we tried to get just random boxes, forget it.
So
that's why In Search of Darkness is 5 hours a pop.
Exactly.
Segment.
So we picked 4. Unfortunately, there was many more that I wanted to do, but we had to only pick 4. So we picked 4 franchises. Now, in some cases, not all of the franchises took place entirely in the 80s. So you see some that the original movie started in the 80s, and then the franchise just went on from there. But we're going to have 4 different titles, 4 different franchises, and we're going to be teasing the first franchise on our social media. So look for that. And if you guess properly, if you're the first to guess properly, I should say, yes, what that franchise is, you will win a prize from the Civil Gore Prize Closet. And I'm not going to say what it is yet, because I need to make sure we have them in hand, but we have a pretty good idea of what you're going to be able to get.
Yeah, and it's something that we've never really given away before, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, something cool. So keep an eye out for our social media. If you're the first to reply with the correct response, and I'm going to make these clues hard. I'm not going to show you like a glimpse of the box cover. I'm not going to give you, I don't think I'm even going to give you actors. I'm going to make it really vague so that you have to guess.
Yeah, I think we need to really try this, especially the first one, which is going to be hard because it's definitely such a popular one that it'll be really hard to tease without giving away. So yeah, this may take some effort.
Yeah. So that was our if you saw our Twitter teases, they were all around memories of going to the video store.
And and I will say David McHugh's first guess was if as a Civil Gore listener was probably as good as you could get without getting the right answer.
Exactly.
He thought we were going to do the VHS series and have Emily Sweet come on as a guest, and that'll be definitely something that happens down the road at some point. But there's still another VHS to come out, and that franchise just seems like one a year right now. So we'll probably wait until there's a lull in that franchise so we can kind of get them all in one shot. I mean, right now there's 5, and there's going to be a 6th one coming out this year, I think. So, we'll just we'll probably let that go a little bit more before we do that. But that will definitely be an episode in the future. And we do have I'm going to leave a surprise too. I'm not going to say what it is, but we'll have a special guest for one of our franchises that I think that you guys will really enjoy as much as we did get to know him. So that'll be something fun. That'll be a unique first location because we never really had a guest.
That's right.
For this location, so this will be a cool one. And this next thing goes right into, I think, the perfect segue here. So of course how we've been we're huge fans of the In Search of Darkness series. He's working, David Weiner's working on the of course he has the sci-fi ones, In Search of Tomorrow, and he's got the In Search of the 90s, the first wave of that documentary in the works for the first, I think it's the 90 to 94 the horror movies. But he has something else that in the works here. Well, it's not, he didn't write it, but obviously it's a lot him inspired here. It's the In Search of Darkness, the definitive look at the 80s horror coffee table book, and it's by Heather Wixson and Patrick Bromley. Heather was actually, if you remember, Heather Wixson was the first to reach out to us about an interview with David and about the documentary. Remember, she said she sent us email. She goes, "Will you be interested in this?" And when I saw it, I'm like, yeah. 80s horror documentary, mega documentary, you bring it up. And then, of course, we have a great friendship now with David Weiner, who's basically a kindred spirit of ours. I feel like we're somehow we were all destined to meet because we have so much in common. And so listen, I'm going to read to you the description of this. So it's the official coffee table book for In Search of Darkness. It says, you love the films, now read the book. In Search of Darkness is now a beautiful coffee table book featuring an in-depth look at over 200 movies from the documentaries, with hundreds of photos and bonus material, making it the definitive look at 80s horror. And right now you can get a pre-order package. I believe it's $85 for the book, but listen what you get with this pre-order package, okay? You get, it's the ultimate book. It says the first 1,000 people pre-order get the I Love 80s horror, gets I Love 80s horror merch, their name in the book, and a chance to win autographed photos. Here's what the book has. It says the limited edition book includes numbered copies, limited edition book cover, 10 by 12 hardcover, glossy pages, features over 200 movies broken down by year in review pages, and then you get the I Love 80s merch, which is a TV squishy, a bracelet, a sticker, 22-ounce stadium cup, and you get a checklist poster, which is Tim's thing.
Oh, I love it.
He'll love that. Each pre-order will get an 11 by 17 poster featuring all the films from the book. Check off which ones you've seen and catch up on the ones you haven't. And then there's a surprise giveaway where 100 random orders will get an autographed 8 by 10 photo of a horror legend like Kane Hodder, Tom Savini, and more. My luck, we'll get Tom Salvini.
Yeah, we'll get Tom Salvini off the street.
But yeah. And so, and it looks like, I guess you could still get, I guess from their site, you could still order the 3-pack of the movies, which is the box set of all 3 issues. It's basically 4 years in the making, 125 interviews, 15-hour runtime, and it has all 3 Blu-rays in there, which is I own that set, and I remember when I bought the 3rd one, I bought the box to house them all. So that is definitely, if you guys don't have that yet, I mean, it's worth every single cent. If you are an 80s horror fan, and as most of us are, and it was just, I can't wait to one day just take a day where I watch all 3 in a row again.
Yeah, they're awesome. All right, well, let's get to our feature film. And by the way, this episode is probably going to be a little shorter tonight because we just recorded our June Dismemberment, which is going to be coming at you tomorrow, and that's a pretty good size one. So we did a double recording duty tonight, so this one's probably going to be a little shorter. But we're here to talk about The Barn Part 2, which came out last year, directed by Justin M. Seaman and starring Diana Prince as Dottie, of course, Darcy the male girl, Linnea Quigley as Sarah Barnhart, Lloyd Kaufman as the town mayor. This is like a horror convention inside of a movie.
It really is.
Doug Bradley as Walter Daniels, John Bloom, as you know as Joe Bob Briggs as Drive-In Joe, Julie Ann Prescott as Jessica, Ari Lehman as Dr. Rock, who's great in this one, by the way.
Yeah, he's and great guy in person, too.
Oh, yeah. Kaylee Williams as Brittany, Jason Brooks as Lewis Carlisle, John Meacham as Inmate Zombie, Lexi Drips as Michelle Fairchild, Will Stout as Josh Harper, Justin M. Seaman as the Boogeyman, Sable Greedle as Heather, and Alana Lee as Stephanie.
Yeah, and by the way, Alana Lee is we follow each other on Twitter. She is definitely an account you want to see. Follow her if you love 80s and 90s nostalgia. Especially, she puts a lot of 80s content on there, and I think her Instagram and TikTok are very 80s centric. She calls it the Retro Nook, and she's always got cool pictures of her like gaming setups and her when she goes on trips and all the 80s stuff she finds. And she's got a really cool TV setup where she's got like this lighting and there's all this like over a little fireplace with some bats like stickers on there, and she's got cool classic monster posters behind. So yeah, definitely follow her. It's at Alana_Lee for some great 80s and horror content. And yeah, she plays a small role in there, but she does get a death, an on-screen death, which is of course the horror fan's dream when they're in a movie.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I was glad she was in it, and she actually was along for when Jeff Whitmire did his watch along double feature. She joined in to
nice.
Probably give some insight. Yeah, so she's really cool. So definitely follow her if you're on Twitter and Instagram.
The synopsis here is the Halloween ban is now lifted in Helen's Valley, and the sorority girls of Gamma Tau Psi place Michelle in charge of their annual haunted house. Unfortunately for Michelle, some uninvited trick-or-treaters from her past come knocking. So if you haven't seen The Barn, I guess there'd be some light spoilers for that one in here, because this one kind of is a direct continuation. Was it like a year later? Or is it more than that?
No, I think it's 3
3
because
years.
she goes from high school. I think there's one line where she goes, "It happened 3 years ago" or something.
Yeah. So a handful of years later, and it brings back some of the characters from the first film. And what's really neat is the thing I loved about the first movie is you had 3 Halloween type characters like created out of whole cloth. You had the Boogeyman, you had the Hallowed Jack Pumpkinhead guy, and you had the Candycorn Scarecrow, and they were like instant like classic characters come to life in The Barn. And what's great about the sequel is, like the rule of any good sequel, they made it bigger and they made it better. So they brought back those 3 characters, but they also bring in I don't even know what they call him in the movie, but like a turkey looking guy.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? What was the other? The pig guy.
Yeah.
So there's like
and there's a lot of it. They almost like sometimes had made this into a like they snuck in a zombie film almost in there, kind of like as parts of it. But
yeah, no, like these supernatural characters have the ability to create zombies essentially.
Yeah, that's the better way to describe it. Yeah.
And a recent movie we covered, which was the last Saturday in October, that series. It reminds me a lot of those because it tries to go for the same kind of 80s VHS type feel. The one thing I really loved about The Barn is whoever, I guess Justin Seaman, when he knows Halloween, like these have the so great classic Halloween feel to them in terms of the set decoration, the lighting, everything to it just screams like old 80s Halloween. Like I absolutely love that. I'm a sucker for any movie that can kind of capture that feeling, and I think these do a really wonderful job of capturing that feel of Halloween as a kid.
Yeah, that was kind of like with Trick or Treat did that, of course.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like that feel, just with a little bit of grittierness. Like the film quality is very grainy and it's intentional. You can just feel that it was trying to be. To really capture that 80s vibe, but like as if you found it on a VHS tape,
Yeah, and I want to talk about the effects too, because obviously this is a lower budget film. It's not like some big Hollywood production. And the effects are, I'm going to say how to explain this without dissing the effects, which I'm not doing in any way. In fact, I'm doing quite the opposite. But the effects have a low budget quality to them in terms of the practicality of them. But it fits so perfectly with the style of film. Like they're really well done for what they are. And obviously, if somebody's head gets sliced off, you're gonna tell it's a fake head, half of a head sitting on the ground. But the way it's done is so evocative of those 80s special effects that it totally works. Do you agree, Brian? I mean, it's just it kind of has that. Like I'm trying to put it into words. It's kind of hard to say, but the effects quality is exactly what it needs to be for this movie.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's like they do it in a style like where they'll cut quickly and then jump to the effect of like a head. Like Tim said, there's one part like I think a face gets sliced off.
Yeah.
And instead of showing the face actually slice off, they kind of like edit it perfectly so it's like a cut and a poop, and you don't notice that you're missing the sequences. Which
those movies did all the time. I mean, that's exactly that's exactly like it captures that the editing, it captures the effects, everything perfectly to make you think of those old movies, which I absolutely loved about it.
Yeah, and like still like the Hallowed Jack's character where he's the pumpkin head with the flame, the jack-o'-lantern, and the where his like eyes are like flames and everything. It's like it's really well done, I think, and it's like it's such a cool like villain, how he comes out like that. And there's the Miner character, but he's the Boogeyman, right? The Miner's technically called the Boogeyman.
Yeah, I call him the Miner, but he's
I call him the Miner too.
That's like Miner is what I'm talking, like a
Miner, yeah.
Miner.
Yeah, and he's kind of and it's funny when he puts on at one point a mask to kind of the fake version of him, because basically the plot line is so at the end, if you haven't, and here's some spoilers, if you haven't seen the first one, these two main characters who like are obsessed with Halloween, especially one guy, and he's basically they kind of disappear after fighting the three villains in there, and it kind of ends on kind of like you don't know what's happening really, but and in the it picks up 3 years later where they're assumed missing. And I guess one of the guy's girlfriends is she's now in the sorority, and one of the the other guy's sister is like her friend in the sorority, and they decide that they want to, like in the description said, they want to lift the ban on Halloween, that it's lifted.
Yeah, because after these guys go missing, they ban Halloween.
Yeah, and that's a typical like horror movie plot kind of thing, as and even the Halloween series took it a couple of their entries where there's no more Halloween now. And so they think the best way to do it is to have like a haunt in their honor, because they used to do their own little like haunt kind of thing from the first one. So that's why automatically now you've gotten Tim and I sold anyway, because any movie about an actual haunt,
yes,
we're gonna get pulled into. So, and they do a really good job. There's like the classic things about the guy that works at the video store, that he knows some stuff, and like then they get this really cool sequence, and they have all the typical haunt goers. That's not real, and then then they end up getting killed. And it's just a lot of cool things like that go on there, and so. And basically, I don't want to give too much away in the movie, but basically, you can imagine what happens. The three main villains are resurrected, and like Tim said, they brought along some more, and now they can, I guess, it's like through an injection kind of a thing, right? Like that where they become zombies now.
Yeah, like the turkey has like almost like a turkey baster type.
Yeah, it was like turkey baster. Thank you. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. And he was like injected it, and so there was like so people that are dying not necessarily are staying dead. So they basically have more than just the three of these people to deal with now.
And without giving any spoilers away,
yeah, I'm trying to be vague because I want you to enjoy it. Yeah, so I apologize if I'm sounding like
this movie is
confusing
interesting
people.
In that it has kind of final girls and final guys in it.
Yeah,
it's kind of the first movie was definitely more final guy focused, but not completely. It's interesting how they didn't just stick with one trope. It's kind of a neat way how they kind of spread the heroism around to multiple characters. So, and the second movie continues that tradition, which I thought was really, really cool. So, you kind of go in expecting it to go one way, and it ends up kind of going a different way. But I really like that about it. But this one, I also have to say, as a kind of a comparison to the Last Saturday in October, which definitely tried to mimic like the film quality and everything of those early 80s films. This one I don't feel like necessarily is trying to look like it was made in the 80s more that it was just it's trying to capture that same feel. So do you know what I'm saying, Brian? It's not like I don't feel like it never felt to me like they were trying to make it look like it came off an old VHS tape. There's some of that, but it's not as prevalent as you see in some of these retro movies. This one was much more about just the stylistic feel. of the
Yeah,
80s.
I mean, it definitely, they didn't like try and enhance it in anything. Like the grainy visuals or the dark visuals were a plus for it. But yeah, I don't think it like tried to make it look like I said. Yeah, I said that earlier. It was kind of like the VHS feel, but like I think just because of the content more, and then the fact that it was like, they definitely didn't use like cutting edge effects, and I think the two together give you that like you automatically just think in your head VHS.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I really like this one. Again, I think it's only available on Screenbox right now, right? For
Yeah, or
streaming.
you can get it on Blu-ray if you order from the Scream Team Releasing, where
Yeah.
they have a lot of good. You can get the first one there, and you can get the I think some other. There's another great series of movies you can get from there. It's a good site to get it. They're not cheap though. I mean, they're like upwards. It's I think almost every movie you buy off there is like between $25 to $30, and then there's special versions of it which I like. Like you can get the signed ones, which is really cool. So, I mean, definitely, I would think it's a good alternative, to, if you're sick of Amazon, you want to buy a local place.
Yeah, they
It's
got
one
like
of
the
them.
1031.
Yeah, that's one of their
series.
series. Yeah, there was the 13 Slaves of Christmas they do. There was another one they had. Oh, the Cherokee Creek. Remember that one we watched, the Bigfoot Bachelor Party movie?
Oh yeah,
That
yeah,
one.
yeah.
That one's on there. The Dude Bro Party Massacre. Like all these movies you've probably seen like on like through social media and stuff.
Yeah, but they're these movies to me, like after I rewatched them back to back, I can honestly see these being part of my Halloween rotation annually because I really like them just that much. Like these could definitely be part of my annual Halloween watch if I didn't have to watch 100 other horror movies for our horror movie challenge. But I'm still probably going to sneak these in somehow.
Yeah, there's actually a cool the barn. Like you can get a special edition version where it looks like a VHS tape kind of thing, and they made a VHS style box, so you can get that. Yeah, and actually the barn, the version I think that I have too, they're selling also has an extended. It's the extended cut of it, so it's one that even if you find it on streaming, I don't think you get that version. So it might be worth it if you really like these movies to go purchase them off of Screen Team release site. They also sell the soundtracks on there. They even have, so remember those the wrestlers, the WWE wrestlers, like the Wrestling Buddies, they were called. They were like stuffed version of Macho Man and Hogan.
Oh yeah.
They have barn baddies, retro pillar fighters, and it's the three Hallowed Jack, Boogeyman, and Candycorn Scarecrow. $25 a pop, so you can get those.
That's cool.
Which are kind of cool. I know. Part of me is like, that'd be a kind of a cool one to get.
Well, I mean, props to their merch team that's like coming out with all this stuff because they're really promoting the hell out of this. So yeah, this one's just, both these movies are just a ton of fun. I liked part 2 more just because it had more cameos and more of everything. It's exactly what a sequel should be. But both of these, man, I can't recommend them as a double feature enough. Like they're just they're fantastic pair of movies. So check those out. If you don't check them out now, at least check them out this Halloween when you're kind of more in the Halloween spirit because they fit that fall theme so well.
Yeah, overall, I think I don't think any fan of 80s horror movie will not get enjoyment out of both these movies. I think even if you're not a fan of that, I think there's enough in there for just a horror fan that likes haunt movies, likes movies with like cool like characters, because I think like those villains are really like, I think they're like as you'll get some backstory to them, but I don't think you need much because they're just so cool visually.
Yeah, they're almost like iconic, instantly iconic. So
yeah, especially you will watch when you see Hallowed Jack. I think that'll just be one of the coolest things to see. And the Candycorn Scarecrow's got like the corn in it.
Yeah, he's got like a corn head, as we find out in the sequel. But
yeah, so there's a lot of cool things in there. It's just and it's like, yeah, sure, it's an element of cheesiness, but again, if you know what they're going for and you know the vibe they're trying to get out of this, they've achieved it perfectly. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they could come out with Barnes 3 through 12, and I'll be there for it every time.
Exactly.
But
so what beer did you come up with for the Barn Part 2?
So I actually got a beer called Barn Beer.
That's pretty much on the nose.
Yeah. Right, and it's from Plan B Farm Brewery in Poughkeepsie, New York, home of the Poughkeepsie tapes. No, so it's 5.5 ABV. It's they basically give a lot of like just like facts. They don't write any cool, funny things about it, but I'll just they have New York State organic 6-row barley and organic red wheat grown from Stonehouse Farms in Hudson, New York. Barley malted from Hudson Valley Malt. So it's very Hudson. If you know the Hudson Valley, they basically, basically very, like, they have a lot of farm breweries and cool farms to visit. It's where everyone goes up to get apple picking, around the fall. So a lot of these things that they use are all locally sourced. So it's a true farm brewery here. It's got hopped with Pearl hops from Crooked Creek, which is in Poquog, New York. Chinook hops from Chimney Bluff out of Wolcott, New York. Fermented with our house mix culture from our raw honey and honeycomb on the farm. And that's the farm in Poughkeepsie, New York. It says, cool ship, cooled and fermented in oak. It's got a lemon pine hop notes, subtly tart, soft and lemony, white oak, juicy and satisfying, dances, but with fruity and funky yeast. So that's got a lot going on there. Yeah, for just a regular kind of beer, but it feels like it's going to be almost like a very fresh and but it feel like a malty, like kind of like a, almost like a really like you'll taste the farm kind of beer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been to any farm breweries, but they're really they're unique in their own way because there's just some kind of rustic feel to the beer, and you feel like almost like you shouldn't be drinking it, like it's like a moonshine or something.
I've
I don't know
never
why.
been to a barn brewery, but I've been to plenty of barns that sell that do like their farmers market type stuff, and they're always like, I know that feel that you're talking about, kind of that rustic feel.
Oh yeah, and up there's so many great ones in the Hudson Valley. Basically, for my brother's bachelor party this last year, that was what he wanted. He just wanted we got a car, got a bunch of people together, and we just drove up around the Hudson Valley, hitting a bunch of different farm breweries. And like, I swear to God, it was one we found. I gotta remember the name of it. I saved it somewhere. I'm forgetting the name right now, but it was like one we just happened to pass, and it looked so cool. And it turned out to be one of our favorite ones ever. It was just like so much space. They had this giant barn where you could go in there and just like, they had board games and stuff in there, and they had like, it looked like there was a stage if they wanted to have live music. And there was a lot of open ground, and I was like, we had Obi with us, and we're like, dogs are okay. He's like, dogs can go anywhere here.
Nice.
So it's really cool, yeah. So yeah, if you're ever in the Hudson Valley, definitely go look up some of the great breweries they have there. Their hours can tend to be weird sometimes, and they close different parts of the season, but you can find at least, there must have been at least 6 or 8 that where I've been to that, and like each one is like better than the next. So
our fan topic food question this week is very simple. Name a popular movie that you hate.
Yeah, I think we know one that Tim and I both agree on.
Yeah, that was my
and we
first
still have
instinct.
yet to figure it out why we don't like it necessarily, and why everyone loves it either. And we're not begrudging either side you're on.
No, not.
And
not
that's the movie Haunt. And
yeah, sorry, I interrupted you, Brian.
Yeah,
but yeah, the movie Haunt. And what I was going to say was, it's actually frustrating me that I don't know why I don't like this movie.
I know, and it should be like, if you look at it on paper, it was made for Tim and I. It's like how it's like a movie about people trapped in a haunt. That's like like handing over like money from us, to you.
I think part of it is, I didn't really care for it the first time I saw it, and then when I found out people really loved it, then I think I started disliking it more because I couldn't figure out why I disliked it.
It was almost resentment.
It was almost like a resentment. Like, why do I not like this movie? Well, it's not proving to me why I should like it, so then now I'm even more mad at it, kind of thing. It was a very bizarre cycle I got trapped in. I watched the movie 3 times.
Yeah, same here. And I still, because I watched it once when we talked about it. I watched it again to try and figure out what did I miss. I think I watched it a third time. I think when Joe Bob showed it, right?
Yeah,
he showed it
and he loved it.
Yeah, and he loved it too. And I'm like, oh my God, I never disagree with Joe Bob. What the heck is going on? It's like someone did someone give us, every time we watch it, we watch a different version than anyone else?
And what's even weirder is me and Brian rarely disagree on movies. But it's almost even rarer that we both would dislike a movie that everybody loved. Like that. Yeah. That's even rarer. Like, I can understand us both dislike a movie that nobody else likes either. But for us both to come to the same conclusion just seems really weird. I don't know. I haven't got it. Now, I've got another answer for this question. And I don't like the question because there's not many movies that I hate. I don't even hate The Haunt. I mean, I don't even hate Haunt. Hate's too strong a word.
Yeah, we're being a little the terminology, the way the word, it's more like just movies. I'm interpreting this question as movies that are so popular but that I just didn't care for.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's very few movies that like. I can't imagine hating them. Like, I hate this movie. Like, I don't understand how you could be so.
And I know this is
a
totally. We should have gave the red Tim trigger warning here, but
yeah, there's only one movie I can think of that I actually hated. Which we're not going to get into Halloween Ends. That was not my answer for this because I didn't want to do the hate thing. I don't know. I'm kind of over even Halloween Ends. I'm kind of over the whole like hating it piece. I think it's just too strong a word. I try not to hate anything. So, but I was trying to find a recent example, and there's one that I could think of that I didn't really care for, even though everybody loved it, and it even won an Oscar. And that was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, really? See, I have yet to watch it.
I didn't care for it.
You didn't like it. Wow.
I didn't really care for it. I mean, it was okay. It was fine, but it was like, I did not understand the hype for it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand. Like, and I was hyped up to see it to an extent because it had all the Oscar buzz by the time I knew about it and all this. But after I saw it, I was like, really? That's what everybody's all up in arms over and getting all crazy about. And I don't know. Nothing against the movie, nothing against the actors. I mean, everybody was wonderful performances, etc. But I mean, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. I mean, how can I, dislike that? But it just didn't do anything for me. I don't know. I didn't get it.
Yeah, I can't think of other ones. There's some that I haven't like seen. I mean, I guess you could say like, I mean, everyone loves the whole franchise of Fast and the Furious, and I just have no desire to see any of those movies. I don't know why. Like, I think I just never. I'm not a big car person, number one, but like I think I watched the first one and I started to watch the first one. I just lost interest in a few minutes, and I'm just like, it's not for me. I could tell I don't like these, and it's spawned the whole franchise, and that's why I probably hated the ride even more because it's so bad of a ride, and I'm like, this just cements.
I watched those because Olivia really likes them, and I'll have to say if you like action movies, if you can get past the first one. The first one is obviously the first one was like the least actiony of all of them, and it was the most car focused. But when they start getting into the crazy stunts and stuff, I think you would like them because at that point they're action movies, they're not car movies.
Yeah, I know. You know what it is? This is like, I don't know, something about it's like I feel like I'm like too far gone to like now. I feel like I'd be cheating myself if I went back and watched them and then really liked them. I feel like what's my purpose in life now? But no, I another one I would say this too, and this is funny because I remember it's like there's some movies where I'll go watch it and I'm like my hype is so up for it, and then it doesn't hit, and then I watch it again after a breath, and then I end up saying, you know what, this is not that bad, and then it grows on me, and I end up liking it.
Yeah.
Know, now that the glow is gone, and you can really watch it with but there's one I did that for, and I still just, and it's not that I think it's a bad movie. I know something about it. I just didn't enjoy it, and it's one that a lot of people like, and that's The Fifth Element, where it's like I went and saw it, and and it's like, and I remember I saw it in the theater, and I ended up being disappointed. And then I watched it again because everyone was raving about it. I said, okay, maybe I missed something. Maybe I was just too excited. And I watched it the second time, and I just said, no, I just don't have a thing for it. And I know it's immensely popular a lot. And it's almost become a cult classic, and I like everybody in it. It's one of those movies, again, where I'm not really sure what I don't like about it.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way with The Fifth Element. Like, I've never been gung-ho about that movie. I've watched it several times over the years, and it's okay. Yeah, but I don't have any special attachment to it either. And sometimes age plays a part. I love The Goonies. I absolutely love The Goonies. But if you didn't watch that movie when you were 10 years old or 11 years old or somewhere in those formative years, it's not a great movie, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I would say I would wonder. Like, I'm glad we got to see it. It was like a perfect time when it came out for us,
Yeah.
But I could see like an adult watching it now and not getting why people love it so much.
I knew somebody that had never seen it before. I was like, "Oh my god, you got to watch The Goonies!" Like you never seen The Goonies? No, I've never seen The Goonies. And this person was my age. They just missed it. And so they went back and watched it, and they were like, that movie kind of sucked. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how could that, like, that doesn't make... and Mike from Coastal Radio is the same way about the Goonies, I think. I think he's even mentioned it on the show. But
he doesn't like it?
Yeah, I don't think he likes the Goonies. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but I think he's one of those that doesn't really like the Goonies. But it just depends on when you saw it, how you saw it, that kind of, like when I saw it, I remember I went and bought the magazine at the grocery store. Like they used to make those souvenir magazines for the movie. And I knew the whole story before I even went to the movie. Like I was totally all in on it. So I mean, all that stuff plays a role in why you like something and why you don't. So that's why I have a hard time like hating a movie, because I know other people might love that movie. Like, who am I to say that this movie is terrible?
Yeah.
Really.
Well, here's another one I think that maybe it's not a movie that I hate. I enjoyed the movie. Let me first preface that by saying I enjoyed the movie. I don't think it's what I don't think it's the amazing feat that everyone thinks it is. And I know I didn't see it in the theater. I didn't see it in 3D, but I just thought Avatar was just okay. I think because the plot to me reminded me of like a really multi-billion-dollar version of Fern Gully.
Or Dances with Wolves, yeah. No,
or Dances with Wolves, too,
I was
which is
the same
another
way
one
with
I heard.
Avatar.
Like, I mean, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I own it on Blu-ray. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. But, like, the obsession with it, I don't get. And that's fine, because I'm sure people say, well, why are you so obsessed with the Manitou or something, or, or like, me, I'm like, I'll, like, defend even and I know even you have said you're not big fans of the sequel Star Wars trilogy, and I still love all of them. But, so it's like, the
Avatar thing, though, it bothers me because every time it comes out, because the first movie came out, and then when the second movie came out, they're like record breaking, like more money than any other movie in history has ever made, and yet you don't go anywhere and see Avatar merchandise. You don't hear anybody talking about it. Nobody could name you a character from it. Like, and I'm like, how is this multi-global billion-dollar movie, and nobody can tell me anything about it other than they saw it and they liked it, kind of like. And you know what I mean? It's like it's the weirdest phenomenon. Like, it's not in the zeitgeist of the culture. Like, nobody talks about Avatar. Everybody went and saw it, and then like it disappears. I don't get it. It's not a cultural thing.
Yeah, and you know what it is, and don't get me wrong, because I'm a big I like James Cameron. I think he's a great director and everything. And I loved Titanic. I loved, and like I said, I like his work. I love Terminator 2. All those. But here's Aliens. But here's the thing, right? Avatar made him really cocky.
Yeah.
To me. And like, remember, I told you that one line that I saw him talk about Avatar 2 when they were talking about the time. Like, he says, oh, don't worry if you have to get up to go to the bathroom and miss it. You'll enjoy it the second time you come and see it. And I'm like, you know what? Where are you in the world now? Who's can afford to go to really, like, who's at this point right now? We're like, with inflation and all this stuff, and COVID was, granted it was winding down and people were going back to the movies and stuff, but a family of four, I'm sorry, cannot drop $100 twice now to go to a movie when you're spending $25. Yeah, your 3.5 hour movie which you have to see in 3D, which makes the ticket guaranteed at least $20. I said, that's some nerve, like, Tim, you go on a family of four, what do you drop easily $100, right?
Oh, easily.
I know. And think about it. And now, with streaming and everyone has the big TVs and everyone has that, the balance of it is not the same. So, and I know he thinks Avatar is an event, but still, like, it's just the timing of that comment really irked me. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's kind of a cocky dude.
Yeah. And, and just people already know you're an awesome director and filmmaker. Just let it be like that. Don't go the extra mile and get all like.
Well, that's kind of what irritates me is he comes out with his freaking movie and it makes all the money in the world, and I'm like, why? Like, it's okay, but here this cocky dude thinks his movie's the best thing since sliced bread, and then people reward him for it, and they do think it's the best thing since sliced bread, but they can't tell you a damn thing about it. It drives me insane. The whole Avatar phenomenon drives me literally insane. Like,
yeah, and it's and it's like I think it's got Sigourney Weaver. It's got like people that you like, cast that you like. It's got a great effects, but
name one quote from Avatar.
Oh, I would never.
Name one
I barely remember
character from Avatar. You can't. You can't name a character. You can't name a quote. You can't name anything about it.
I think the only thing I remember is that the Na'vi, right? Is the
like I'm becoming red Tim over blue avatars, but
yeah, I know. Look at that, we got blue. And granted, and here's the thing. We like the movie. We think it's okay. We just don't like the phenomenon.
I don't understand the phenomenon. Like, it's not Star Wars. It's not an IP to me. It's not an IP because unless your IP is completely contained within the movie and you don't see anything about it, like you don't see kids playing with action. There's no kids playing with Avatar action figures. There's none of that. I've seen a cereal maybe. I think I saw a cereal. Like, there's nothing for this movie.
I think they had a couple of figures at one point.
But nobody bought those. I mean, it's one of those things, like, it's not a thing. Like, Batman is a thing. Star Wars is a thing. Harry Potter's a thing. They deserve their hundreds, global, millions of dollar things. But then this movie comes out and makes all this money in this world, and nobody knows anything about it. Nobody does anything with it. It's like this. It's weird. It's just a weird phenomenon. I guess it's all the 3D stuff. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I think when it came out, right, it used the 3D better than anybody.
No, it was impressive when it came out. I remember because that was when 3D was first hitting theaters again, like the revival of 3D. And I was blown away. Don't get me wrong, I was blown away. I thought it was amazing. I didn't care anything about the story, but the visuals were impressive. And Avatar 2, the visuals were impressive. I didn't watch it in the theater, which obviously was kind of a lessened experience for me, but it was still impressive, and I enjoyed Avatar 2 much more than Avatar 1. The story was much better to me, but I still don't get the whole phenomenon thing. Like, why is this the movie that's making more money than the latest Avengers film? Like, why is this the movie that's making more than the latest Harry Potter film? I don't understand that piece of it.
Yeah. We're probably going to get so much hate. What do you mean you don't like Avatar? We said we liked it. You just don't get the yeah, I don't know. Well, I had a feeling this question might have stirred up some things, but yeah, I mean, there's stuff like that. What's funny, my brother, like, he refuses to watch Titanic because he never saw it in the theater, and now he's making his life's mission to never watch it. Just because that I'm like, but you'd actually really like it. He goes, oh, I know I would, but I cannot watch it. He refuses to watch it.
I do stupid stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend. He's never done Die Hard, and now he says he won't watch it just be the same reason because he doesn't. But he participates in like the memes and stuff. I'm like, you have no right then. If you haven't seen it, you can't make the jokes.
Well, that's what happened to me one time. Is I bought this is years ago, like 20 years ago. This guy was
so much for our short episode, by the way, as usual.
This guy that I knew from a forum, he was selling a copy of Zombie, the Lucio Fulci film.
Oh, I love that.
And so I was like, okay, I'll buy it from you, and I bought it from him. He shipped it to me, and so a week later, he's like, hey, did you watch Zombie yet? I want to know what you thought about it. I was like, no, I haven't got around to it yet. And a month later, he was like, hey man, did you catch Zombie? I was like, oh man, no, I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. And it became like this, now 6 months later, and then it was like a year later, and I still hadn't watched it. And then I got to the point where I was like, well, now I can't watch it because it'll ruin the whole joke. Like, if I watch the movie and he gets back to me and says, did you watch it?
Well, no, you had to watch it. You just couldn't watch his version of it that he gave you.
I guess. I don't. But what wound up happening is I never watched the DVD. To this day, I've never watched it. Now, I've watched the movie. I've watched it streaming since then. But I've never watched the DVD. I've never opened the DVD. I've still got it upstairs 20-some-odd years later after he sold it to me, and I've never cracked the case on the damn thing. I've never watched it. I probably will never do because I have to keep it, it's a thing now. I have to keep it sacred. So I understand perfectly.
Yeah, and the Zombie's actually a really good movie.
Yeah,
too.
that's a great movie. Yeah, but anyway, so I guess we ran into our short episode turned into a regular episode. But yeah, guys, go watch The Barn and The Barn 2 if you haven't seen those yet. They're fantastic. And next week, it's summer slaycation time. I can't
Yes.
wait. We have our...
Yes, we'll start teasing this right away. As of tomorrow,
And
we'll start teasing our first.
And we're going to do our traditional format, which is going to be 2 weeks per franchise, I believe.
Yes.
So
and we have two. It's funny. We have 2 small franchises and one large one. I think semi-large. They're definitely not like Puppet Master.
No. We're not doing Universal Monsters again.
Or that. Yeah, that one was. That one still I'm tired from. But that was a fun one still, the rewatches of those. But yeah, this one, the first one is very is the smallest one of all. Then the next one I think is second smallest. I think
they slowly increase in number.
Yeah, and then and then the third one. Yeah, I think we'll save the last one maybe for the very end because that'll be. That's also I mean I gotta relocate, make sure we can get all of those because it's a decent length franchise that
I've already got it covered in our spreadsheet, Brian.
Oh, you do? Yeah. You found out where they all are?
So
okay,
you'll be set.
Nice.
All right, guys. So we'll see you back here next week to kick off Summer Slaycation. See you then.
See ya.